Hi, it's wonderful to be here. We had Nate come, I believe it was earlier this year, and take a look at our library farm. And so what I wanted to do was to share you some history of our library farm. So I am the library farm manager and my own person in the library, and that has the rein on this train that I've been driving for 5 years, and it all started over 10 years ago. So the beginning of our library farm was just a vision of our librarian we had at the time, Meg Backus, and she looked out. This is a photo of the street across from the library, and we had all this undeveloped land, and she thought that um, she would start something that the adults could participate in and not just have all the children have all the fun. So here's the next slide. I have a video. You're on.
Okay, so we're at the Noble Community Garden. I'm Meg Backus, a librarian here, and we've plowed about a half acre of our library land, and we're going to start putting stuff in the ground and see what we can grow, and it will just be available to either people who come to the library. We'll try and get some into the food pantries around here, and all the while we'll be teaching about gardening, and anyone involved will learn more about different techniques and organic farming.
So hopefully you're able to hear that video and get a firsthand perspective. That was taken back in 2011, 2012, when we first started digging the ground. This is how the whole process started. I participated as a member of the not a member of the library, a member of the community. And this is beginning of 2012. Towards the end of 2012, when everything was growing, we ended up with almost what Nate was talking about, a library field instead of a library farm. But we pressed on. We did have a lot of community involvement from the Boy Scouts. This is in 2013. So we had a lot of undeveloped area. Kept having programs in the library about gardening. We Meg did a lot of this. Had organic gardening classes, classes on vermiculture, on how to make rain barrels, how to start a cold frame. In 2013, we finally got our sign to say that here we are and we're not going anywhere. And I love the quote underneath that if you have a garden in your library, you lack nothing. A direct quote from Cicero, which is our namesake library. And I like to say that if you have a garden in your life, you lack nothing. And then we did tame that field behind us, and we were able to put in a platform for outside education. And that was very successful in 2014. 2015, this is a view of, we had almost 50 gardeners in this area. Participation was wonderful. And in 2016, there was a move to change our location from in-ground gardens to above-ground raised beds. We're becoming more modernized. And we moved every gardener over to their own bed. We had a lot of help from community volunteers as well, from like Key Bank, that's in our area. And 2017, even the Boy Scouts came back. You can see this decking here, the tables, the benches, and as well as this brand new table was made by the Boy Scouts. So it's quite possible to get help. Need to reach out. 2018, we received a grant from local congressman to purchase this pergola, which has been a godsend. So it has shade where we have all this outside area, great for the plants, not so great for the growers. 2019, we started having these raised beds for our herbs and inviting the community to participate with us, not just growing, but and taking some of the herbs for them to use for their family. And in 2020, because of the pandemic, there wasn't much action going on, but all of their gardeners returned and we still planted that year. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of plants growing that year, but believe me, we had a lot of plants growing. And 2021 was our 10th anniversary of the library farm. And towards everyone wanted to get out and do something. So we really took off in 2021. We had a lot of organizations, food banks, Syracuse Grows, which is a community nonprofit for community gardens, and so many different organizations that came out to help us to acknowledge our growth in our 10th anniversary. And 2022, we updated our sign, and now we have an official Northern Onondaga Public Library, Library Farm, and it just keeps growing and growing. I think the ideas keep growing in my head faster than I can plant them. 2023, here we are still. One of our first work days of the year, a lot more organized now than we were, and we have everyone assigned tasks. And though everyone is a volunteer, they're happy to participate. And then this year, our new addition has been this blue archway to identify an entrance to our library. And I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards. There's so much that happened between 2011 and now, and so many people that have made this possible. Like Nate said, it took an army of people to do what he's doing as well. It took me an army to do it. So thank you, and we'll pass it on.
Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Maria Mayo-Peaseley, and I'm a branch manager at Anythink Libraries. I'm joining you from Adams County, Colorado. I'm currently managing Anythink Right Farms, which is our central branch, but then when it opens, I will move over to manage Anythink Nature Library, which is why I have the honor of sharing some information with you today. But first, a little bit about Anythink. We are the public library district serving Adams County, Colorado, which is a mix of suburban and rural communities north and east of the Denver metro area. Our mission statement is we open doors for curious minds, and we focus our work on experiences that spark curiosity and joy for our community. So today I'm hoping to share with you an overview of a new project we're really excited about, the Anythink Nature Library. We're going to talk about our vision for the library, some inspirations that have brought us through the design process, and then I'm excited also to be able to show you some renderings, which is really exciting. So at a glance, what is this new project? We are partnering with the city of Thornton, Colorado to build a 35,000 square foot library surrounded by 140 acres of open space. Anythink will design and operate the library itself, while the city of Thornton will be responsible for the trail system that will surround the library, as well as some nature playscape areas and some other cool features on the site. Something that's really exciting to me about this project is that we have the opportunity to do programming not only at the library itself, but on the entire 140 acres, which I'm sure is something that the library field project is really excited about as well. This is a library devoted to nature-based learning and exploration through spaces, collections, and experiences, providing us an opportunity to expand on work already being done across our district around environmental learning. At Anythink, we talk a lot about meeting our community where they are. I think libraries across the globe can relate to that. But for me, this project is really about meeting our customers where they are in their relationship to the natural world, and thinking about how we can create experiences that help our community build access points to their relationship with the natural world. And why are libraries the right space for this? I know I'm preaching to the choir here, But libraries are amazing at breaking down barriers, and we know that a lot of people come to this relationship with nature at very different places, from different backgrounds or experiences, some of which, might not be the most positive. And so I think of libraries as these amazing, safe, and trusted institutions in our communities that provide baby steps or access points for our community to build that relationship. So I think about maybe a customer just comes in one day and all they want to do is just check out a book on bugs. But then maybe they come back, a few weeks later for a local beekeeper talk. And then it could be weeks, it could be years, but then they're back and they're actually helping us plant a pollinator garden in our community. These are all access points in that journey towards relationship or kinship with the natural world. And libraries are just the perfect place to break down those barriers and provide those safe spaces for connection. I'm going to talk a bit about some inspiration for us. Early in the design process, we became aware of a resource meant for early childhood educators called the Environmental Kinship Guide. This model introduces a new way of thinking about how a variety of experiences can build relationship or kinship between humans and nature. And I won't talk your ear off, but in essence, learning about nature means observing and studying the natural world. So this could be cloud observation or learning to identify plant families. Learning in nature centers on the tactile experience of getting into nature. So it could be playing in a mud kitchen or snowshoeing. It could even just be cooking with some garden fresh veggies. Learning with nature is all about the spiritual, deeper connection. So this is your outdoor meditation or a poetry workshop. And finally, 4 is about asking what we as humans have to offer in return. So I think about this as like a neighborhood cleanup or a discussion on local efforts to combat climate change. We were so inspired by the Environmental Kinship Guide that we decided to design the spaces within and around the exterior of the building around each of these learning modes. So creating spaces that could accommodate each of these experiences in really meaningful ways. So for instance, in the About area, we have an indoor-outdoor art and science lab. In the In area, we've got natural boulders that promote agency as well as risk-taking that could be safer than the experience of climbing on rocks outside. We also have in the In area a space for outdoor checkout of adventure type of gear. And then in the With area, we've got big open windows with views of prairie and sky, promoting reflection as well as connection with the land. For learning for nature, we've created an office in our staff area devoted to partner organizations such as Leave No Trace or Generation Wild, who might want to come and stay for a while, stay for a week or longer, and not only share their message with the community, but also host programming at the Nature Library. Another really important inspiration for us throughout this process has been our advisory council, made up of members of Indigenous tribes in our local area. This group has not only inspired us throughout the design process with their own ideas, but has also held us accountable to making sure that we're moving in a good way and in a way that honors the land itself. So with all that talk of inspiration, I'm excited to share some renderings with you all. This is a quick overview. So we're right now at 33,000 square feet. It's a 15-acre surrounding library property that we're leasing from the city of Thornton. And then, of course, that 140 acres seamlessly connects with the outdoor space in the library and will feature some trails and other features. Construction, I'm excited to share, will begin August 5th. We've set a date for our ground blessing ceremony, which will be on August 5th in the morning, and I'm very excited about that new update. We're scheduled to open mid-2026, and cost of construction is $43.4 million at this moment. Here's a view of the library's front doors. You can see the feature design element is this column up front. This column was designed to mimic the cottonwood trees that are native to our site. And it's just a really special feature for us to remember what was here before. Here's a bird's eye view of the library looking down. You can see the library in the center here has wings, or what we like to call blades of grass. The design itself is called windswept, as a nod to the grasses that blow in the wind, which can be really fierce here in Colorado. To the west side of the building, you'll see a loop trail that's in gray that is unique to the library itself. So it doesn't connect to the rest of the regional trail system. But then over on the northeast side, you see that beige trail. That is the trail that connects to the rest of the 140 acres, as well as a local bike path. Just south of the library, past the parking lot, you'll see a little half moon shape. That is our community garden space. Right now, I think we've got about 36 plots. These are some of our outdoor gardens. They're meant to be like a mini botanic garden or a passive learning experience to learn about plant names and families, as well as what plants thrive in our local ecosystem. So it will largely feature native plants to our site. This is the outdoor component of that indoor-outdoor art and science lab. So this is a space perfect for messy or experiment-based programming. I'm really excited about this space. It can be fully hosed down. Those of you who do programming will appreciate that. This is a view from the west side of the property on that loop trail facing back towards the library. And this is a very special space on the site. It is our talking circle, which was inspired by our advisory council, who wanted to ensure there was a round space specifically for storytelling and just sharing in general within our community. And this space will feature plants that are native as well as sacred to local tribes in our area. This is our learning garden. So as opposed to our community garden plots, this is a space next to the library that's just for programming and for learning. So we're really excited about this space, and it backs up to our really cool outdoor teen area, which I don't have a rendering for you all today. As we move inside, I just want to note that we are still working on furniture design. So these are really all placeholders, but this is our width area. So this is that space I mentioned that's devoted to reflection and connection with the land. So this is that view of just prairie and sky. This is a central courtyard open to the sky within the library. This is metaphorically meant to mimic the center of the kinship knot. So this is a space where the four experiences kind of converge, and we'll have an experience of each of the four elements within this space. To me, it's meant to be a very grounding and reflective space within the project. This is a view of the front door. Again, the shelving is going to be changing. But you can see we've got our little cafe right straight ahead, as well as some nice seating. And then this is what we're calling the social corridor. So this is a space for connection as well as browsing our shelves. And then it has that beautiful green wall that kind of leads you back into the library. This is a space with some really beautiful natural light thanks to the windows in the ceiling. So as I'm wrapping up today, I just wanted to share a slide that shows you a few images of the site itself. We couldn't have created such a wonderful project without the inspiration from the land itself. So I just wanted to thank the land itself, really, and just share it with you all what a beautiful and inspirational space that this library will once sit on. And this is a future visitor to the site. He is hanging out in the learning garden, planting some seeds. And to wrap up today, I just wanted to share a quote with y'all that I've kept coming back to throughout our work on this project. Researcher David Sobel writes, "If we want children to flourish, to become truly empowered, then let us allow them to love the earth before we ask them to save it." I think in libraries, we have a unique opportunity to be that safe space for our community to fall in love with nature, and in doing so, find themselves within that greater fabric of the natural world. And thanks for having me.
Thanks for this opportunity. I'm Helene. I work as a library transformer at Aarhus Public Libraries in Denmark. And I'm the head of our SDG library, which is where we work with the UN SDGs. Aarhus Public Libraries consist of one main library and 17 branch libraries located in different areas, suburban areas and rural areas. So 17 very different locations. It's my task to lead us from a policy for libraries platforming the SDGs, or the UN World Goals, to a library practice where we platform the public access to working with the SDGs and a sustainable future. So that is my job every day, but it's also the outline of the strategy of and the policy for the public libraries in Aarhus. I actually started working with this already in 2013, where we opened Grow Your Library as a youth project as a response to field work that we did with young people expressing a need to try and practice or work with sustainability, not in an intellectual way, but as hands-on. And we activated the library garden of a branch library and created 40 plots of land that we lend out. And to this day, we still have both young people and the entire community having a community garden out there at the branch library. So that was like our primary inspiration for working with that. That's because we apply design methods to how we work. So first we go out, meet the users, gain inspiration, then we do prototyping, brainstorming, and then we iterate. Right now, we're in the process of moving from just having human-centered design approach to working with planetary design, which means respecting planetary boundaries and also involving other species and local conditions. We do that motivated by, I guess all of you US people can find yourself being the number 4 here on the country overshoot day, and Denmark is right next to you as the number 6, meaning that if everyone lived like us, we would need to have 4 planets. But we only have one, so we believe that this is a product of our cultural habits, of our ways of creating choice and values in this world that we share. So it's not just a biological or a technological emergency, it is a cultural emergency. And in Denmark, 50% of the population use the library. It is actually the most visited and the most accessible cultural platform, which leaves us with, we believe, a moral obligation for libraries to facilitate cultural transformation, which is also why we need to apply a new approach, not just in our design methods, but in how we do library as an act in the world, which means we need to move from an anthropocentric perspective to a planet-centric or an ecocentric, where we understand humans as part of systems. We work with that approach when we asked ourselves the design questions of how libraries could platform the transformation of world goals or the SDGs into everyday goals. We went out into the world, interviewed citizens, co-workers, and co-creators, and also lots of experts. And we ended on a set of constraints that left us with these what do you call them, backbones in how we work with it. We want to have a holistic approach to the SDGs. So regarding sustainability as a holistic measure of working with not just the green sustainable goals, but also the social sustainable goals. We want to work with humor instead of fear and shame. We want to be able for people to share hopes, but also to share tangible ways of acting in the world. We started co-designing a new space in Dock 1, the main library, that should be a lab for working with the SDGs. In doing that, we invited the community in this area in, which meant working with schools, universities, NGOs, but also the people already populating this space, which was in fact a lot of homeless people who were living in the docks around Dock 1, the main library. And we asked them to be co-designers. And the first thing they said is, we would love to do that, but we don't want to go indoors with you. Which meant that in doing so, we created some transformational infrastructures where some of them are in the library, in the organization, but a lot of them are also outdoors. I will share them with you now. With our co-workers, we created a set of dogmas that obligate everyone in Aarhus public libraries to always consider climate and nature and to break our own habits. we also created what we call a circular praxis, or the wheel of the year, where we put, instead of putting culture at the center of what we do, we put nature in the center. We also decided we will work vernacularly, which means taking always into consideration the space and the place that we work in. So this is one of the branch libraries that moved a lot of their library services to a forest near to the library, where they work with foraging and whatever is in season there. We created the Every Book is a Seed Fund, where the selling of discarded books creates the funding for sustainable activities in the branch libraries, which in this case is a field of native species surrounding a library, but it could also be insect hotels, compost libraries. And then we created sustainability kits for our co-workers to make it easier for them to have the courage to actually act and do something with their community. And that could be the seed bomb kit, for instance, that you can see here, where they can platform playful activities with their community, but at the same time spark activism. And then we created what we call the SDG space, which is an open infrastructure located at the main library. And that's the one we created with the homeless people. It consists of 3 components: a stage for stepping up for the SDGs outdoors, a circle of storytelling or a circle of stones for meeting up for conversations about a sustainable future, and also an indoor space which is meant for workshopping and creative activities. Everything is created with circular materials only and has been transported by CrossFitters as to have no CO2 emissions. Up until this day, we've had 300 activities in this space with different partners. And every time they use it, they get control of our Instagram and they tell their stories about working with SDGs and sustainabilities. In this, we also became aware that we need to involve other species, and we need to also expand our view on sparking transformation for a sustainable future. So we created new traditions, the Green Festival with 700 children, Christmas swap markets. But we also created new library services such as circular craftism. This is an example where we're putting old books in blenders and creating new paper with water from the sea and the river. We lend out sewing machines for repair shops and upcycling. And we have created compost libraries, but also Acacia workshops as a regular service. We also have new partners. This is an example of Lego, where we do playful prototyping of a sustainable future in the library spaces. And now we're testing nature connectedness. How might we work with that in library settings? We're putting our focus on the emotional and the ethical perspective or existential perspectives. When we, for instance, work with kimchi as an interspecial co-creation situation, where you work with fungi and microorganisms. We also try to ask questions in a new way, like who do you share Christmas with, to try and understand all the other species that actually were already living in your Christmas tree. We've created seed libraries in all the libraries, also in the branches, as a way of platforming democratic participation. And we also create tiny gardens for seed sharing and seed collection in old sewage pipes around all the libraries. And finally, we lend out plants in our plant library, where you get a little plant diary along with it for poetic participation. But you can also test out the plant radio that translate the chemical signals of the plant into sound. We have new colleagues, which are giant African snails that create interspecial meetings. And with all this, we try to push the boundaries of what is library, not just as a space or as a place, but as a being. And we try to become workshops for sustainable future. So I just want to share with you our latest that we opened the other day, which is a media lab where we share tools and skills for nature connectedness. And these are just GoPros. But look at what all these kids observed, meeting creatures of the sea, but also creatures of the sky right next to the library. So this is some of the stuff we're prototyping and testing and trying to figure out what does the library of the future look like.
So I'm Acacia Thompson. I'm the Environmental Justice Coordinator and a librarian here at the Greenpoint Library and Environmental Education Center. We are one of 62 branch libraries in Brooklyn Public Library system here in New York City, and though we currently are the only one with a focus, and that's on the environment. And I'm excited to talk to you about what we do here and how it relates to the Library Field Project. So to understand what we do here at the library, it's important to understand what happened here in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. So Greenpoint is located in North Brooklyn, abutting the East River Estuary and Newtown Creek. And it is close to the geographic center of the city, and it provides a lot of the city's infrastructure, from wastewater treatment facilities to truck routes to waste transfer stations. So we take a lot in from the city to help it run. So one thing you have to know is that oil refining was developed here. Oil refining itself was developed here on the banks of the Newtown Creek. And for over 150 years, the companies flourished and also destroyed our waterway and created the third largest oil spill in American history, underground and in our aquifer. We have 3 Superfund sites and over, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of other issues, but a whole laundry list of environmental issues in our community. But thanks to the Clean Air and Clean Water Act, residents became activists. They had the legal rights and they fought for the health of this community. When stakeholders sued ExxonMobil, the current leaseholders of the source of the spill, monies were given to the community for environmental programs. And this library is a legacy project of that litigation, designed to be a place for environmental advocacy. One of the things that also came out of those monies from the litigation was a legacy grant, of which we are able to use for the next couple of years in supporting environmental programming. And so my work here at the library is centered on creating and supporting environmental educational programming, promoting sustainability, and helping draw attention to environmental justice issues that affect the health and the well-being of our staff and our patrons. So what do we do here? Like any library branch, we support traditional library programs like, story times and English language classes, computer classes, and homework help, but we also provide many environmental programs. Our new library building affords us the availability to have multiple things happening at the same time. We have indoor space and outdoor space. We have 5 meeting rooms, we have a teen room, and separate and children's areas. Additionally, we have a rooftop demonstration garden and a reading garden. So now I'd like to highlight some of the things that we've been working on. And for children, we've planned programming around renewable energy, gardening, birding, art nature workshops, tree and plant identification, bee and pollinators, recycling and composting. And again, I think it's really a fascinating thing to be able to do this in an urban environment where we feel like we can't have the access to the environments in the city, but we really do try to make those connections for our patrons in the middle of New York City. So we've held plant-based cooking programs. We've had a goat visit Greenpoint to illustrate alternative landscaping techniques being done in our city parks. Additionally, our children's librarians have led workshops on DNA splitting, as well as geology and astronomy, planetary science, mycology, and solar eclipse education. And for adults, we facilitated programs like parenting in the time of climate emergency, that's what we say, and art making for the March to End Fossil Fuels, which we protested in together with our partner 350 Brooklyn, the local arm of the Global Climate Action Group 350. We held street tree ID and printing classes to help with our urban work with our urban forest. a series of environmental justice housing workshops, author talks with journalists, academics, and environmental activists, panels on environmental justice issues and environmental history in New York City. We are a regular venue for holding public meetings with the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Environmental Conservation, and the Meeker Avenue Superfund Site Community Advisory Group, our most recent Superfund site that was designated last year. We've hosted sustainable art exhibitions, plant sensory workshops, gardening, food preservation, seed saving, bird ID walks, stargazing on the roof, sustainable sewing and mending, botanical drawing, jewelry, and then bookmaking, and home repair workshops. Here you can see some of those workshops we did around mending, furniture and home repair, and using upcycled materials to create art. That's my pants on the very bottom right. I'm still working on them. They always get holes in them. Some of our highlights were our well-attended environmental activist meetings. So here you can see our local activist meeting about the attempted expansion of New York City frac gas infrastructure, another meeting about our third Superfund site in Greenpoint, and our group at the March to End Fossil Fuels protest. Some other highlights included a visit from the Department of Energy's Jennifer Granholm, who's the Secretary of Energy, who toured Greenpoint's solar panel infrastructure and to engender a circularity at the library, which is something we're very committed to doing in promoting swaps. We held our second annual kids clothing swap, and we also had a very successful book sale with our library friends group, where we had over 1,200 people visit in one day, which is a lot for a branch library here in New York City. We've also enjoyed using our rooftop demonstration garden to connect patrons to plants through our programs, and our annual plant giveaway, where we usually give between 200 and 300 plants to patrons within the community. And then sometimes when we're lucky, we get pictures back of what they've grown and how it's been going. Though we have a modest vegetable yield, we give that food away to our patrons, and sometimes we're able to stock the community fridge that we have in the library. So in this space, we've held gardening programs, which you see here with our kids gardening program, author talks. We've also had musical and dance performances, and previously mentioned stargazing, as we have a set of telescopes and yoga and Tai Chi classes. And this year, we opened the first tool library in a public library in New York City. And this will further establish our system as one dedicated to helping patrons lead environmentally responsible lives. The tool library will eliminate the need for people to own individual tools. And in doing so, will promote sustainability, accessibility, and equity for our patrons not able to afford these expensive items. And so giving patrons the tools and education to work on their own projects and to fix broken household materials will not only promote environmental sustainability, but a sense of self-reliability. We will start holding more programs in the fall to support the initiative and create an opportunity for patrons to learn to repair the things they own and community skill share. The library is a natural location for patrons to borrow tools, as we are a place dedicated to promoting this equity, sustainability, and sharing knowledge. In the tool library, we also have air monitors available to borrow, so patrons may test their air in their homes and in their community and mobily to ascertain if the air particulate levels are dangerous. Because as we experienced here all over, the detrimental effects of the June wildfires last year, more people are aware that air quality is a major health issue, and these air monitors will help give them the answers that they need about whether or not where they live is safe and what they can do about it if there are issues. And we are very concerned about air quality here in New York City, so we have a live air monitor here on the roof of the library. We've stayed abreast of environmental and climate justice issues by joining several local and regional collaboratives, including the Brooklyn Borough President's Air Quality Advisory Group, Climate Exchange, the Climate Action Network, and the Forest for All Coalition. We also work with a handful of city agencies like the Mayor's Office of Sustainability, Department of Sanitation, the Comptroller's Office, and the Office of Emergency Management. A great deal of the success of our programs has to do with our relationships with organizations and collaboration with local government and environmental organizations working closely with our elected officials and on community issues has really been crucial to the success of getting people into the place and for people to know about what's going on here. And we will continue to support this work and collaborate with others in our library system in environmental programming. And the next step is to build up sustainability in a process of the Brooklyn Public Library system and build capacity and interest within our staff on these issues. We've joined the Sustainable Libraries Initiative to harness resources and to learn how libraries can make more practical changes in how they operate and their impact on the environment. In that, we're working to identify ways we can make our library system as environmentally responsible as possible. And that means for the health of not only the planet, but also our staff and our patrons. We want to do what it takes to show that BPL cares about the environment and about human health. And that means that we walk the walk by setting an example. This will require we take a look at how we operate in things like the environmental impact of our programs, the materials we use in them, the swag that we give away to patrons, how we deal with waste and recycling, our maintenance policies, branch energy use, collection development and procurement, branch modifications, and the design of new branches. Even the use of single-use items within our programs, our internal meetings, and in our staff kitchens. And we know that we are doing great work at Greenpoint, right? I feel like we feel very, very good about what we're doing, and we really want to spread it across our system by sharing what we know and learning from other staff and collaborating to ensure we are a library system that makes the environment a priority. And I'd like to add, here that when we have lots to learn and collaborate with all library systems and all kinds of other libraries. And so I'm very excited that we get to be part of this particular situation. We can help make our neighborhoods healthier and safer by doing our best to make our library as environmentally responsible as possible and inform patrons about environmental issues. As a trusted civic resource, the library, we can do that. I think you can see we have a distinct initiative at Greenpoint Library, and I believe our unique programming, our work in sustainability and environmental justice can be harnessed as inspiration for a planning library field and what it will be, just as the rest of your work will do as well. So thank you for making time for me to share what I do. I'm pleased to be part of this project and overwhelmed to be in the company of these people doing great work. So please feel free to reach out to me.